Hey guys, thanks for joining us at EWTS. It's really unfortunate that we couldn't meet at EWTS itself this year, but at least we get to be in person.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks a lot. I'm going to kick this off with a quick intro, and then we'll talk a little bit and chat a little bit about augmented reality and enterprise. So my name is Tawfik Jalil. I work for Qualcomm in the XR product team. I'm a mix of a product and program manager. My main responsibility is on the enterprise front to ensure that we maximize growth, but also very importantly that we understand use cases and bring partners such as yourselves to work together with us on initiatives on the enterprise front. About 2 years ago at EWTS, we launched an enterprise program called the XR Enterprise Program. The purpose was to bring in solution providers, hardware providers, and work together on initiatives, again, to understand use cases, but very much so to accelerate growth of AR and VR in enterprise. John, would you like to introduce yourself, Lenovo?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm John Iaia. I'm on the Lenovo team. I currently work on the Think Reality team, which is their augmented reality and virtual reality team focused primarily on commercial AR and VR. My role there is I head our strategic alliances and partnerships globally and have been in the space for better part of a decade and was actually originally in the XR world at Qualcomm. That was kind of my initial introduction to this exciting technology space. So it's good to be back and building in here. Yeah.
I'm Sven Brunner. I'm the founder and CEO of holoone. And holoone is we're a software company, and our main product is a mixed reality or augmented reality collaboration platform, basically unifying all the, as we see it, kind of high-value enterprise use cases in a single unified software. So this is remote assistance, workflow guidance, digital collaboration, life-size overlays in a single kind of unified software platform. And working very closely with Lenovo, the Think Reality team as well, with John. Have not been at Qualcomm myself, but yeah, that's kind of what we're doing.
Okay, awesome to meet you guys. So, over the past couple years, we are starting to see a large number of enterprises deploying and commercializing augmented reality and really using augmented reality, head-mounted augmented reality to solve like real-world problems, right? So really the purpose of this panel was really to chat with you guys, being experts in this area, to just give us your view on how your product can actually resolve and help, end users, these enterprise customers solve their problems in all these different use cases. John, I know, Lenovo has been a leader in enterprise for years, right, with PCs. We all have a Lenovo laptop or a Lenovo PC at home, and a few years back, you've launched a VR headset. You've launched a solution, a platform for enterprise. You eventually launched, you entered augmented reality with the A6, launched that, and then not too far ago, have launched the Think Reality A3, which I love the device, by the way. I'd love to know, first of all, how using the A3 to solve this real-world problem has benefited Lenovo and what you're learning from that.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the question. So, as you mentioned, right, we have a number of solutions we're building out on the Think Reality team across hardware, software, through a number of ISV partners, as well as our own Think Reality platform, example of a key partner here as well, and services component as well. Previously launched the A6, we've now launched our new augmented reality HMD, head-mounted device, which we're extremely excited about, which is that A3. And fundamentally, Lenovo views this technology space as not only one of the most exciting, but primary focus of attention in the future. We've been investing heavily for a number of years in this space to build out not only, the hardware component, which, as I'm sure you're all aware, is, core to Lenovo's larger enterprise business, but to also work to build out a broader ecosystem in this space. And in order to do so, we've had to figure out ways to utilize not only, a hardware package that we're bringing to market, but also build a broader portfolio of ISV partners and work with a number of key technology partners such as yourselves at Qualcomm, right? I mean, arguably the key partner in the space, to bring those solutions to fruition. And there's, at the moment, a ton of really exciting enterprise use cases where folks are incorporating this remote assistance, remote workflow type technology using various head-mounted devices such as RA3, which we believe is the best device in the market, of course, to solve those problems at scale, which is really the key there. Because in the early days of this technology space, a lot of players have been working to build out these solutions. However, there have been very few players that have entered this space to both proliferate the technologies broadly across all enterprises that can utilize these sort of augmented reality and virtual reality workflow, remote assist, et cetera, solutions, and also do so in a broader capacity, where they're not just pushing a single-ended, narrow solution there. So we're extremely excited about the space.
Awesome, thanks. And Sven, you mentioned earlier being in, your product really focusing a lot on remote assist, remote collaboration, and other things. Can you perhaps share some example on how working with Lenovo and the A3 is helping, your product grow, is helping, end users solve their problem?
Absolutely. I think what's very important is, and the A3 is a prime example for that, what we've learned, people don't want clunky, big headsets, right? This is, even in enterprise, people don't want that. They don't want to work with that. If they have to work for hours and hours with a headset, they want something small, something light. And this is why we're so excited about the A3, right? This is exactly what the A3 can do. It's a light device. It's something you can carry around all day. It's something you can wear all day. And it's not compromising performance, right? Because especially in the enterprise, you still want the functionalities you need to cover the use cases I just mentioned. And this is why the A3 is a very exciting device also to, and John mentioned that, right? Our solution is something, and the Lenovo Think Reality platform as well, it's not something for a very small niche use case. It's really meant for mass adoption, right? For large use cases. Essentially, at one point, the entire workforce of a company to equip with a device and our solution. And this is something you can do with a device like the A3, right? It's really something that basically everyone can have and use. And it is also extremely important, I think, it kind of bridges the gap between the more traditional computing platforms like PC and smartphone and kind of this new world of spatial computing, augmented and mixed reality, because you connect it to a phone. It's something we all have, right? And kind of utilizes that computing power we already have in our pockets to kind of facilitate this new use cases we can cover also with our solution and also now with devices like the A3.
Yeah, and to that point, one quick topic. One of the key ways and why I think it's important that folks like our respective entities are able to work together and get in the same room is we're all kind of working to proliferate this en masse, but no individual company, irrespective of their background, pedigree, enterprise backbone, is able to do that en masse. And that's why when you look at an example of a solution we've created, I mean, our respective organizations have come together to create a perfect example of a great scalable enterprise solution across the A3 headset, which is powered by the Qualcomm XR1 Snapdragon processor. And on the Think Reality platform side, one of our key partners is the holoone application, right? And combining those forces, we're able to kind of raise the high water line of the industry as a whole to help accelerate this broader enterprise adoption, which was moving very rapidly, albeit not as quickly as the solutions and problems that could be solved by the underlying technology demanded.
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't agree more at Qualcomm. We very, very much believe that in order for all of us to be successful, there has to be a robust ecosystem, right? That ecosystem is, hardware providers like yourself, software solution providers like yourselves, telecom operators to bring connectivity, technology provider like Qualcomm, and of course, the end customer, the end users with their use cases, because there's always problems to solve. But going back to you, Sven, so we're lucky enough here today to be sitting in person and talking to each other. But over the past 18 months or so, everybody's had to pretty much work from home, right? And your product, your use case is really the perfect use case, for this pandemic. Like, no one could have predicted this, but here you are with a product that has a fit for that. Do you have any examples of, potentially an end customer or an example of where your product, along with the A3, was a key driver in your productivity or efficiency at one of your end customers?
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. I mean, it's exactly right. In essence, our tool is all about facilitating collaboration in mixed reality, both in person but also remotely, right? And as you said correctly, over the last 18 months, and also in this kind of new era we live now, this will persist. The remote part is very essential, right? And a good example for what you can do with our solution, this is a very classical use case, of course, is providing remote assistance, for example. You are on site, and this happened in the real world a lot, basically on a daily basis, that someone on site had a problem, had an issue, and the person who could help was just not there, right? Maybe couldn't even if they had to travel there, it was not possible with travel restrictions and so on. And then if you have you can just pull out the device out of your pocket, put it on, kind of connect to that person, and be it from your own company or even from a vendor, from a supplier, from a machine OEM, and immediately connect to that person, help you to solve the problem is just very, very powerful, right? The same goes, we have customers using it for product design, where you can just bring in, you work on something, both digital and virtual, or virtual and physical. You bring in someone else. We, for example, then allow people to appear as avatars, work together on a problem set, or even someone can join in the same physical space. And I think this is also key for the future, right? And this is, I think, our solution a very good fit to help people collaborate, no matter where they are at the same physical place or if they're remotely, right? Basically, just eliminating or that distance doesn't really matter anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is no doubt. I think 18 months ago, when we all had to work from home, it was a shock to all of us, right? But then we very, very quickly all adapted to it, and now it's here for us to stay, right? And we've, like you said, we've learned that being physically in the same place, although important from a social standpoint, isn't a must. We can work as efficiently, if not even better, by being remote and complete a bunch of tasks. John, a question to you. So I mean, you can say we're in the early days of an augmented reality revolution. Sure. In terms of technology, in terms of the future, what keeps people like you at Lenovo up at night? What features, where would you like to see technology go in order for you guys to be able to provide, either smaller devices, better devices, if I can say that, and so on?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things keeping me up at night, right? I think they're all exciting problems that a lot of really smart people are on their way to solving. I mean, one of the primary barriers to mass adoption is continued investment in the hardware, right? I mean, continuing to make the form factor lighter, right? More wearable for longer periods of time, making sure that folks can utilize the technology as a tool first and foremost, and not as a shiny new piece of technology, which, in a lot of the early days was some of the primary onus behind some of the tech. And that's really, a lot of what we've been working on. And I think that is kind of a function of Lenovo's pedigree in the enterprise and industrial space, right? I mean, building things that work for a ton of people really well, right? And that's where we're looking to build this out. And I mean, more broadly, outside of the technology itself, I think one of the things that's, really keeps me up at night and is really been over the years and has been lessening very dramatically recently with COVID and everything we've been facing, is there's kind of a in AR particularly, somewhat VR, but primarily AR, a dichotomy between the value that's derived between some of these use cases and solutions that are implemented and how broadly they are disseminated by various enterprises. In that, when folks build out these solutions, and I'm sure you can attest to this, and you guys are insiders, and a lot of players in your ecosystem can attest to this, when there's broad adoption of a solution across some enterprise, and I've personally worked on 10,000 plus person rollouts of some of these solutions, the more valuable it is and the higher time savings, cost savings, how many plane rolls, truck rolls they're able to reduce, the less they want to publicize that in some cases because they wanted to maintain first mover advantage. That was slowing the broader adoption, in my opinion, of the space, because everyone said, well, I haven't heard of this implementation at scale, or I've only heard of these few. Who's doing it, right? And behind closed doors, I think we can all see most of these large enterprises are investing and adopting these technologies. And as these case studies and white papers are coming out, folks are seeing that, but that acceleration is allowing folks to realize that this isn't as much a thing of the future as it is a thing of now. And by not investing and by not investigating how you can utilize these technologies, AR and VR solutions in the workforce today, you're behind the curve, right?
Yeah. Would you say that one of the reasons perhaps for this fear in the enterprise is, when new technology comes in, these new tools, sometimes they're presented as, we're going to take everything you were doing before away and we're going to replace it with this. And that usually, generates a fear in the majority of the employees, right? And so, like, if I go back to Lenovo, right? You've been doing PCs for a year, right? And if people start to think that Lenovo is going to come in with an augmented reality device and tell enterprises, okay, you can scrap everything you've done with PCs and now we're going to use an HMD or head-mounted device, that really generates a lot of fear. But if we were to approach this with more, this is a complementary tool. The PC is always going to be there for you to do certain tasks, for you to do certain use cases, but then there are other use cases and other tasks where you can be so much more efficient if you were to use, augmented reality or virtual reality and the software tool, kind of similar to, how we transitioned from, using PCs and then starting to use smartphones and tablets, right? The smartphone, we all do work on the smartphone, right? But we still use laptops, right? But then there are times where a smartphone and a tablet are a must, right?
Absolutely, and that's why, 2 points to that, and that's a great point. If you have anything, I'll let you jump in as well. But one, that's why, the solutions we're using are a better width, right? This isn't a solution that is going to entirely replace, everything we've used before. This is a solution that you can tether to, our Moto G100 phone, right? It's a solution that you can tether to a number of Lenovo workstation devices, right? And it can work as an additive technology in addition to the technologies that are already working in your enterprise today, just to make those things better. The analogy I use, and I kind of liken this to, it's a new tool like a drill, right? Someone invented the drill, amazing, right? It replaces the chisel and replaces the screwdriver in certain use cases. But a lot of folks, particularly in the earlier days, were going around and saying, I want to use this shiny new toy. What's a way to use it, right? But the reality is, you have to ask yourselves, are you trying to drill a hole? If so, this is a fantastic tool that's going to save you a lot of time, money, and energy, blood, sweat, and tears. But it is not replacing other tools that can do a lot of other things.
Yeah, thanks. And Sven, going back to the earlier question, from a HoloOne perspective, what keeps you up at night? What advances in technology would you like to see to help you be more successful?
One thing, and this was, as a software developer, is always your concern is the hardware, right? For us, the hardware is always the in some sort of limitation, right? We can go as far as also the hardware supports it, and that was, especially in the early days of AR, I think that was a major issue, or would also kind of limit mass adoption quite a bit. That the hardware was just maybe not there to support the use cases that were really valuable, or not in a way that we're good enough in the real world. And that's also why we're actually that's gotten a lot better. It's also why we work with partners like Qualcomm, Lenovo, very closely to sleep a bit better at night, to not I have to stay up all night worrying about it, that the hardware moves in the right direction, right? Because we get so much direct customer feedback also, because they're using our solution on top of the hardware, and that's always something we want to try also closely working with partners to push them towards, okay, this is what the market asks for, and this is what we could then also, make even, or adopt even new use cases in the broader kind of audience. And I think the other thing is what is still a very challenging part. I think both hardware and software, or a combination of it, is interaction in augmented reality, right? This is still, in many ways, not fully solved, I would say. It's still something where I think we've come a long way already, which is also, I think, key, again, for mass adoption, that really, basically the whole workforce is using it. It needs to be easy to use, it needs to be intuitive, and this is definitely something we're still experimenting, trying to get better and make it even more seamless for users to really use that technology. Because again, you mentioned it, right? There's always a fear of new things, right? And then it's even more important that it feels good to use it, that it feels easy to use, and this is definitely something we're putting a lot of focus on.
Awesome. Yeah, I think one thing I just realized, holo is not part of our XR Enterprise program, so I think we should get you onboarded, and maybe
I didn't even realize.
The three of us can collaborate on some pretty cool initiatives. I mean, there's quite a few things on the horizon. With that, I really want to thank you guys for driving down here to San Diego and joining us, for the benefit of the EWTS folks, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Once again, thanks you for
having me.
me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
Take care. Thanks.